Hello magical hands, welcome to the channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Jessica and welcome to the family. And if you're a returning subscriber, thank you for coming back. As you can already tell from the title and the video ongoing, this is the tutorial you're about to watch, but this portion of the video is the part 1 and we are going to draft only the patterns. Don't forget to subscribe and let's dive into it. I have already gone ahead to draft the basic bodies of a dress. I have the back pattern here and I also have the front pattern. So if you're a beginner and you don't know how to draft the basic bodies, do well to check the link in the comment section so you can watch that video, which will enable you to understand this video properly. So now we are going to start with the front patterns and I'm going to keep the back pattern aside. I have all the basic points drafted out and I'm going to start indicating them. The first line is my bust point, the second line is my under bust line, the third line is my half length and also can serve as the waistline. That is your high waist. And then the last line I have there is the full length of this blouse, which I am using 24 inches. Now if you're not busty, you just have to extend this your armhole line forward and use that as your chest line. But I am quite busty, so I'm going to have to make my chest line higher and I'm going to mark 4.5 inches above the bust point. Just take your time and find out what works for you. Place your tape from your bust point upwards and decide which part will be your half length, your chest line, and then make a straight line across that point. Next, we are going to start marking our nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2. Mine gives me 3.5 inches and I'll mark it from the bust point down to the full length and I'll make a very straight line on it as seen. Now find the midpoint of my shoulder. My shoulder width there is 4 inches and the midpoint of 4 inches is 2 inches, so I'll just mark 2 inches there and I'll connect from the midpoint of my shoulder to meet my apex measurement on the bust point. This will enable us to get our dart properly. Now we are going to start marking out the dart and our bust point is always the focus point. Now we are going to do everything and it's all going to come together at the bust point to give us the cup look. At the under bust line on the left side, I will mark in half an inch apart from the apex measurement. And on the right side, I marked 1.5 inch apart from the apex measurement. That's a total of 2 inches. And then on the full length, I'm also still going to mark the same half an inch on the left side and I'll mark 1.5 inch on the right side. Now for that 1.5 inch I used at the right side, it depends on how busty you are. If you're not that busty, you can use half an inch, or you can even use 1 inch, but I decided to use 1.5 inch and it worked for me. So make a straight line across them as seen. On the chest line, on the left side, I also marked half an inch apart, and on the right side, I marked 1.5 inch apart. Now I'm going to use the straight side of my ruler to connect the half an inch apart in a slanted form to meet the bust point. And I'm going to connect from the under bust line with the straight side of my ruler to meet the bust point as well in a slanted form. Now for the right side where we took 1.5 inches, I'm going to use the curved side of my ruler to curve it to meet the bust point. And while you are curving, make sure that your curve is not too sharp at the bust point. Just try to blend it in neatly. And from the under bust to the bust point at that side, I will still use my curve ruler to curve this to meet the bust point. On the chest line, that dart that we have there, which is 2 inches, we'll have to replace it at the right side. So at that point, I'll come there and mark 2 inches because we are going to cut out the dart there. And I'll extend this line. I'll create a new armhole curve at that point. Now that our chest line has been extended further, I'll have to create a new armhole line. And then I'm going to come down by 1 inch. And at that 1 inch, I'll also make a straight line. Now I'm going to use my free hand to create a new armhole from that half an inch that I came down by. Now the reason why you have to come down by this half an inch is because by the time you join this cup to the center front, you will notice that this particular side that I'm recurving this armhole will become longer. So it is important to do this half an inch thing. It's just like contouring it and just blend it into the armhole. You can see me using my free hand. I didn't even use any measurements. And then I went ahead with my marker to define the main lines. This is everything we need to do. Now we are going to go ahead and start marking our round bodice measurements. On the chest, on the armhole line, I'll mark my round bust measurement, divide by 4, and I'll replace what I have in that area. Next, I skip to my round under bust and I marked my round under bust measurement divided by 4, and make sure to replace what we have in that area. As you can see, I am not adding any seam allowance yet. I will add all my allowances while I'm cutting on the fabric. You do the same thing to your half length line, and then on the full length, I'm going to be using my hip measurement for the full length. So I'll mark my round hip measurement divided by 4, which is 10.25, and I'm going to replace the 2 inches of that dart at the other side. So guys, this is what a blouse needs. This is the only dart a blouse needs. It's either you are doing the vertical dart or you are doing the horizontal dart, and I'm not doing the armhole dart. No, this is the only dart that this Victorian corset we need. But I know you'll be wondering, is a Victorian corset, does a Victorian corset not need multiple darts? It doesn't. This is the only dart it needs. The remaining are supposed to be manipulated, okay? This is the main dart. This is the only thing that will give your breast that bustier effect. This is the only thing. Any other dart outside of this is just an effect that is created, okay? So at the center front, I just slanted this inwards. You can see me using my free hand as well, so that it is a bit shaped, so it's not straight. So we can go ahead and start cutting. First thing I'll do is to cut out the darts, and I'll also cut out the yoke because we'll not be needing the yoke. So this is what both the pieces of the front piece is looking like. Now I'm going to overlap the bust on each other, that is close up the dart lines. I'll just use my tape to overlap the bust, okay? Just make sure that the under bust line aligns. Just make sure that you close up the darts just as you have seen me doing. And now we are going to start creating that effect. Now this is where you get creative, okay? From that under bust, at that point, I'm going to mark a straight line in a slanted form. That is because I want all of this to come in like a V shape, in like a slanted form. So just go ahead and start slanting this. Remember, we've taken out our darts already. Now for the second part, I don't want this to affect my bust because I don't want the boning to go to the bust side. What I did was, from that bust point, I marked my apex measurement again, and that is going to guide me to know where I am not supposed to, mark, where I'm not supposed to sew, because I don't want the bonings to compress my bust or to compress like my breast measurements. I just want the whole bust area to be very free. So you can see me adjusting. I'll still connect another slanted line downwards, okay? This is what my Victorian corset pieces are going to look like. I'm still going to shape the under, but I'll do that on the fabric. So this is what everything looks like. It's very, very easy. And now you can go ahead and split this into 3 different pieces. And also, it is very important to indicate what each of these sides stands for, so we don't mix them up with the back pieces. We have the center front, the middle front, and the side front. This is what they all look like, and we'll move over to the back piece. For the back piece, you will see that the difference between the back and the front piece is that the back piece has zip allowance, and then the armhole of the back piece is not as defined as that of the front piece. You will know all of this if you've watched the detailed video on how to draft the basic bodice. First thing, after I indicated what the line stood for, I removed the zip allowance because this blouse will not need a zip allowance, okay? So just go ahead and cut out your zip allowance, as you can see me do. So the first thing we'll have to do is to mark the chest line, which is the same thing we use for the front piece, okay? Now we'll start marking our apex measurements divided by 2. We are going to mark it this time around from the chest line to the full length, okay? We are not extending it to the armhole No, we'll just go ahead and mark from the chest line straight to the full length, because this time around we don't have any business with the bust point being our focus point, because this is the back. Okay, so now we're going to take our regular dart, and I'm going to do 2 of these darts. It's just the regular dart, but just make it 2. So at the under bust line, I'll go half an inch apart from the apex measurement. On both sides, mark half an inch, and I'll connect it in a slanted form downwards. Just use your marker, and I'll connect it in a slanted form to meet the bust points as well, the chest line. Now I'll mark what I have from that space to from that center back to the apex measurement there. What I have is like 3 point something, and I'll mark that same measurement at the other side. I'll still make a straight line using that point, and then I'll go ahead and still mark half an inch apart from the apex measurement, same way we did to that other side, and I'll connect it in a slanted form to meet the base, likewise to meet the top part. Okay, and this is what our dart will look like. Very simple and short. I just made 2 of the dart, because for the back piece we don't have to go ahead and manipulate same way we did to the front. Okay, so at this point now we'll have to start marking our round bodice measurements, but before we do that, I'll bring back my front pieces just so I can recreate the armhole. Okay, you can see how I placed it, and I'll just go ahead with my free hand and slant this downwards, because I want the back to be like a V. So you will see that at that bust point area I went upwards by 1 inch, and I know I did not use the tape at first, but because I know what 1 inch looks like, and I'll just go ahead and slant this properly. This is what everything should look like. They should align around the armhole area. Now I marked my round bust measurement divided by 2, and I'm going to mark what I have in both those darts area, which should amount to 1 inch. At the under bust line, I'll mark my round under bust measurements divided by 2, and what I have was actually stopped in that dart, but by the time I marked what I have in both the darts, which is around 2 inches, you are going to see that it will move outside. Likewise to the half length, we'll do the same thing, and then on the full length we are going to mark our round hip measurement divided by 2. Now we can go ahead and connect all those points together, and this is everything for the back piece, guys. This pattern drafting is actually very easy. It's very easy. Now this blouse will not have a zip, and I want this to be smaller than my actual measurement so that I can use like lacing loops at the back. So what I did was to just mark 1 inch. I took only 1 inch. You can take 1.5, 2 inches, but I took only 1 inch, and you can see the way I slanted it to the full length. I literally didn't take anything from the full length because I want you to have this close-up V look at the back. So now indicate what each part stands for, and I'll go ahead and cut. Okay, that part of that back piece that we subtracted 1 inch for is very important. Okay, you can go ahead and decide as much as you want to subtract, but I am cool with the 1 inch, and you guys will see the result, or you guys have already seen the result already. And once I take that out, this is what my back piece looks like. So now it's time to cut out the dart. Make sure you like and subscribe, and see you guys in the part 2, where I'll be uploading the process of cutting and sewing this to this beautiful Victorian corset that you can see. Bye.